So we are back with the liaison to the Statehouse of the LGBTQIA Alliance of Vermont, Miss Brenda Keith.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
And I'm only going to make one correction for you.
Oh,
I actually used my full name, Brenda Churchill. Brenda Keith was actually my name on Facebook. When you came out with Facebook, you had to have an alias, or for protection, you had a different last name. So I did that on purpose, but that's okay.
Brenda Churchill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, learning new things.
These are so many new things. Love it.
And that's okay.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about the LGBTQIA Alliance for those who do not know?
All right. I'm actually going to use some information that we did put on the internet.
Perfect.
And not that I want to read it, but I want to make sure that it accurately represents the work that's been done. The LGBTQIA Alliance of Vermont is comprised of representatives from a range of LGBTQIA organizations and individuals from the broader Vermont community. Our mission is to anticipate and collaboratively respond to proposed and enacted laws, policies, actions, and community-level crises that may impact the LGBTQIA Vermonters. That's pretty much the first part of the...
Yeah, so how did you get involved with them?
Well, it's an interesting part of how I got involved. I've been friends with folks in the Rainbow Umbrella for at least a year and a half. And I was away, as you know, in Manchester, New Hampshire for work. And I would come in occasionally for things like their drag ball that they held and a few other events that they had. And I got wind after the election that they were doing something a bit different. That different part was the Rainbow Umbrella Political Action Group, which was formed pretty much the day after the election. And it was formed in response to the potential of bad things happening legislatively. From that, there is a man named Keith Ghostlant who is holding that work down as well. He was able to do it one day a week and still hold a full-time job, and it was recognized that they may need more face time in front of the legislature. And as a coincidence, I was retiring, the position opened up, and here I am.
Well then.
Pretty straightforward.
And the Statehouse liaison, I heard that you recently actually testified over at the Statehouse.
I've actually testified 3 different occasions before 3 subcommittees, twice for Joint Senate Resolution 18, and once for the H333, which is the gender-neutral bathroom bill. That's coming back to the Senate in January.
Because it did not go through the first time.
Well, it went through the House, and you've got to remember how laws are made, and it's been a learning process for me. So if you're not involved in it every day, you probably wouldn't have a clear idea of the path to from a written statement to a bill or how it gets through the legislature.
Right. My only understanding is the Schoolhouse Rock version of I'm just a bill. And you know, my memory's a little foggy.
I can see it though.
Yeah, it's a good graphic.
I'm just a bill.
That's it.
I'm not going to sing anymore. That's it. That's all I got for
you. Sure?
Yep.
Okay.
So,
but within the context of the legislature, you have what is called crossover, and your bill has to move from the House or the Senate to the House or the Senate, depending on where it was heard first and where it's been working. So that understanding is that this bill didn't make it all the way through to the Senate in time, but they will take it up in January.
okay. And what was the other one that you testified for?
Joint Senate Resolution 18 was actually, and I'm going to read a little bit of what I hear, is a resolution combating the rise in hate crime and bigotry. And basically it's a reiteration of existing laws, but it reinforces to both the public and our elected officials that Vermont's a safe state to live in and that they're going to protect our LGBTQ rights. And it's an important resolution in that it also got down to the Human Rights Commission in Vermont is distributing it throughout the school systems and the school networks. All of my organizations that I represent are going to get the proclamation as well. So it really helps people feel better about being here in Vermont.
So it clearly puts in that like hate crimes against LGBTQ folks.
There's protection against us in the state level for that, yes.
Okay.
And you recently, it's all about being, together in solidarity, really. And you were part of the Solidarity March that happened down in Montpelier.
Thanks. I actually manned the LGBTQIA staff tent, if you will, which was right next to the Pride Center's tent. And we answered questions, we talked to people, had great seats for all the speakers that were there, and the youth speak out as well. It was a really well-run day. We had our march, we had our speakers, we had our youth speak out, and actually general public attended and spoke out as well. So it was very, very well done, and my hat's off to the folks who organized that through the Rainbow Umbrella of Central Vermont.
I heard there were some amazing speakers throughout the day. And you ended with a dance party on the Statehouse lawn.
Well, we actually danced a little bit before, and
dancing throughout the day.
And afterwards, it was kind of quiet. Things were pretty somber after they did the Pulse tribute, which was perhaps the most meaningful of all the ceremonies that day. We had 49 people with flags representing the 49 victims from the massacre at the Pulse nightclub a year ago. And then we also read Amos Beattie's name as a victim of violence against transgender folks here in Vermont.
Right.
So it was a very solemn afternoon, and that actually was a good piece on one of the news shows if you saw it.
Yeah. It's a difficult topic, but one, especially within the year anniversary, one that we really need to focus on and fight forward for.
Very much, and part of it is just guarding yourself to know that no matter where you are, you have to be aware of where you are. And this state, although it affords the best protections, I think, of all the states in the union, there's still people who will look to do you harm. Doesn't matter whether if you're trans or not, just need to be focused.
So, if people were interested in getting involved in the LGBTQIA Alliance, how would you recommend that they can get in?
Probably the best way to do it, since we're an umbrella organization, is to focus and look at your organizations locally. In southern Vermont, we have the Green Mountain Crossroads of Vermont, and H.B. Lozito runs a great organization down there. Here in Chittenden County, we have the Pride Center of Central Vermont, with the executive director Sue Hartman, and then there is the Vermont Cares, which again you could volunteer at, and Outright Vermont if you're involved with the youth as well. I hope to be a counselor there this summer, or at least a volunteer counselor, and
Perfect.
do some work with the youth. And then of course Rainbow Umbrella of Central Vermont, which is again an organization in the Montpelier area, and I would say join those to begin to be active and understand that within those organizations we send out a liaison report weekly of work that I do, bills that we're working on, and where they're going. So it's a comprehensive report that lets every member know what's going on, and that's a good way to get your information.
So the general public can also get this newsletter, or is it only to the organizations?
Thanks. Right now it's only to the organizations, but we're looking at a three-tier approach to the alliance, if you will. First is the member organizations, which are LGBTQ focused and mission driven. Allies who have intersectionality within the LGBT community, and I'll use Vermont Center for Independent Living as an example. Organization that supports housing and placement for people within the community. There's a couple of others that come to mind, but that's the second tier. And the third tier may be individuals. We may be looking at folks who are interested in joining just the liaison part, or to keep up and get news from it. We've had interest there. We had interest at the rally, and we took people's names. We're working on trying to decide how we want to evolve that portion of our organization.
Great. And so this is an
You guys are so
overarching
cute.
question.
We are
You guys are
adorable.
so cute.
More of an overarching question. What are some of the changes that you feel need to happen here in the state of Vermont for specifically the LGBTQ plus community?
Thanks, Nikki. One of the things that I've looked at nationally is a move to add a third gender to driver's licenses. That's already going to be law in New Hampshire. I'm sorry, not New Hampshire, Oregon. It's going to be law in California. I was told that the District of Columbia has a similar method of being able to check off the third box on applications. And I think if I can be presumptuous enough to say, I think we really want to work towards the future, and this, of course, would be where Outright and that group comes in, and the kids. I mean, can you imagine a kid going to get their learner's permit with their mom and filling out, Mom, M and F don't fit for me. They don't work for me. So to avoid that and to produce something that is sustaining would be great.
So a third box meaning more gender neutral?
Gender nonconforming, gender neutral, non-binary, however you want to put it. Unfortunately, all you got now is M and F.
Right. Pretty limiting.
It is.
So looking forward to our youth seeing the activism that comes out of them. I mean, I do love Outright. I'm glad that you tooted Camp Outright 7.0 because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's just so magical to be in that space, especially for a full week.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well,
one of my previous jobs, I worked with kids almost exclusively, and Nikki knows where, I'm sorry.
Emoji.
I'm working on.
It's a tough one.
On that one. Knows that I worked at Smuggler's Notch for many years.
Yes.
And I worked,
Mountains of Adventure.
I worked within the children's program, which was my primary focus, and I had a blast. The energy that you get from kids is amazing, and working with specifically LGBTQ youth is just fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
so much glitter, so many rainbows. Can't get enough of it. Well,
Brenda, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thanks. Did the time really go that fast?
It really did.
Time flies when you're having fun with two queens.
I just want to leave you with one quote that I use.
Please.
And I actually have this on my refrigerator because it's a refrigerator moment, and it's activism is the rent I pay for living on the planet.
So true.
And I want folks to think about that. Even if you have to reverse mortgage that part of it, now is the time.
Even if you don't have a refrigerator.
Yeah, even if you don't have a refrigerator, now is the time to get busy. And I advocate everybody to take a stand. We're going to need everybody.
Yeah.
We're not just going to need the few people in this room. We're going to need everybody.
It's the time to step up. We're in a difficult political time, difficult time in the country. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda, and thank you for that quote. That was really meaningful.
Thanks.
Awesome. And we will be right back with our next guest. Who could it be?